stupid. Hi, and welcome to the Interdimensional Voyagers podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube or you'd like to visit the YouTube channel, it's Dogman Teepee Hunting. And today I'd like to introduce you to Chris. He's a experiencer of the strange, as he likes to put it, and strange indeed. And I find it absolutely fascinating to talk to him. Very interesting guy. I hope also you give him the time and listen to what he has to say, because it is indeed very strange. Okay, hi Chris.
Good evening, Phil. How are you? You right?
Very well, thank you. Yes, very well. Yeah, no, not too bad at all, really. No, I would have thought, oh, it'd be nice to be in the garden doing this.
It is fantastic out there, isn't it?
Absolutely lovely. Yeah, what are we doing indoors? Why are we doing it?
Yeah, no, we've been out most evenings this week and enjoying this weather. Yeah. It's finally here, you know. So
yeah, and I think it's time well spent for me anyway. Time well spent listening to what you have to tell us. Now, if you don't mind, I just want to crack on, listen to what you've got to say from the beginning. Now, take your time and as much detail as possible would be great. And let's start it off where you want to start this off, in your experiences of the strange.
So the very first memorable experience that I had, I was about 7 or 8 years old, and I remember laying in bed. I wasn't very well that evening, and I've never been a deep sleeper. I'm very, very shallow sleeper, and I remember laid there that evening, and all of a sudden I was looking at myself from the corner of the room. I had an out-of-body experience. I was a little boy. I didn't know what was happening. I was never scared, or I was not shocked even. Just, it was weird. It was just so strange. It was, I think I remember thinking about it for after that evening, and trying it again. I've always had a very, very good imagination, and I was able a few times to like recreate an out-of-body experience. I still practice sometimes. I think there's a name for it, astral plane work.
Projection
or something. Yeah. I can do this, not literally at will, but I mean through meditation and being very relaxed, and that, if I was upset or anything like that, I wouldn't be able to get in that sort of mindset,
No.
But that was my first memorable experience, was when I was very young, and it was just
okay. So so when you were very young, when it happened, did you tell an adult at the time?
Yeah,
did you?
I told my mum, but I mean, I always had a good imagination. I think she would have just not laughed it off, but oh, that's interesting. Do you want another sandwich? Sort of thing. Yeah. And never really spoke about it again. But that was the first time. Now, when I was 14 years old, the second most memorable experience, and I feel one of the most significant, definitely. I was witness to the 1993 Cosford Black Triangle event. My cousin and I were walking back from Wooding-Dean in Brighton, and we got to a place in Brighton called Jacob's Ladder, and it's if you know Brighton, there's a cut right. It goes right through the middle of the race course, So on race days, they can open the road to the seafront through this cut. So if you go up north, head north from the seafront and go over this cut it's just opposite the cut in the race course.
Okay.
Steps that lead down. There's about 150 steps lead down. And my cousin and I, it was Easter Bank Holiday weekend in 1993. And I'll never forget that evening ever to the day I die. It is absolutely seared into my brain that I can still be there mentally in that time. It's that vivid, you know.
How many? There was you and your.
It was a cousin of mine, and
cousin.
Unfortunately, he died a few years ago. He had a massive heart attack. He had it very young, and so unfortunately, I've got no one to back this up. And of course, 1993, we didn't have mobile phones, or I don't think I'd even seen a computer, a modern computer by then. I remember an old. I think they were Apple computers at school, but
I can remember. I think they were the ZX80, ZX81, the Commodores.
Commodore 64, I remember that. And so we were walking back, and we got to this point opposite the cut in Brighton Racecourse, and we started walking down the steps because we lived in the valley at the bottom of the steps, and we stopped. About 20 steps down. As you go down in a straight line, and we stopped on the first bend. It goes ever so slightly to the left, and we sat there. I remember it very clearly. And we sat there, and from that point, you can see on a clear day, you could see sometimes to the Isle of Wight. From that point, you can see, you could see 40 miles easy in clear, you know. And we sat there. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. It was pitch black, and we were overlooking. We could see the Shoreham chimneys, the old power station, and we see this black triangle the size of an aeroplane. And it was doing the only way I can describe it was like a reverse. It was as slow as a reverse parking, as if it was reverse parking. It wasn't driving anywhere or anything like that. And I remember my cousin said, we both see it. And both of us, we stood up and we were, oh my God, what the hell is that? We've never seen anything like it. Within a heartbeat, this thing skipped across the sky, and it was in the field next to us, about 100 meters away from us, about 20 meters off the ground. We could see its underbelly. It was like a giant piece of obsidian glass. It was just a giant piece of obsidian glass, and it had 3 red lights, nothing in the middle. It had 3 red lights on the corner. It slowed down. Now, I do remember in that moment, Phil, it was absolutely silent. There was no wind. There was nothing. There was absolutely nothing. It was like I don't know. I can't even describe it. I've never been in. It was like,
Chris, was there, when you went up, they usually, like, if it's towards the way you describe it, it's by the sea, so usually it's always a bit windy there. It's always windy, but especially when it's high up.
I was going to say, this is Brighton Racecourse. There's always wind up there. It's never ever not windy in this place, you know.
When this thing came over it was, towards you, it was
still. It was
weird.
It was like it was in a closed room. That's how still the air was.
Yeah. Okay.
Extremely bizarre.
Did you find any like sometimes with a thunderstorm you get like the static electric where you stand up?
No, I don't remember anything like that. I think I don't remember it, but I would imagine, knowing me, the hairs on my neck stood up or the hairs on my arms stood up. But we were in awe of this thing. We'd never seen, to this day, I've never seen anything like that. I've had some very, very strange stuff happen, but I've never seen anything and so big. It was like a propellered aeroplane size, not quite jumbo jet size, but it was much bigger than a light aircraft.
Right. Okay. So you would say, how old were you again? How old?
I was 14.
Right. So it's going to be, looking at it, do you remember it to be as big as maybe, let's have a look, 2 cars across lengthways?
Yeah,
2 normal size cars?
maybe slightly bigger than that. It was. I remember getting into. I went on a journey to Norway years ago, and we had to get 3 planes to our destination, and
Yeah.
got a propellered plane on the last piece of the journey up into Further, and it was about the size of that plane. I'm going to say about 15, possibly 20. It's very hard to judge distance and
Yeah.
and size without a tape measure. Does
Yeah,
that make
no,
sense?
it is. But there's nothing, especially when it's in the sky, because there's nothing to use to go against it to
No, of
relate
course.
to.
So, it was. I would say I would put it at 15 or 20 meters across, maybe. Probably about
Okay,
a meter and a half thick.
okay. And one other thing, you said it was going near the chimneys. This power station wasn't used at the time, I guess. It's not an active power
I
station.
don't think they've. Oh God, there's a bit of history to the power station. I think it was. You'd have to please correct me. Anybody, feel free to
Yeah.
correct me. I haven't got Google in front of me, so I think it was an old coal power station. It had
Okay.
two chimneys, very similar to the Battersby power station chimneys.
Okay.
They brought the original chimneys down, or one of them at least, I think, in the late 80s.
Yeah.
So I think they've done something because there was, I'm sure there's still chimneys there. They've done something with the complex anyway. But
Okay.
you'd have to look that up. I'm not sure what they've done with it. But when we
No
said
problem.
there was 2 chimneys there, I'm sure there were 2, but we weren't interested in the chimneys.
No. I guess not. No, of course. But when you saw this thing, first of all, it was by the chimneys,
Yes.
and it was just hovering above them at the
Yeah,
time.
it was.
But you said it looked like it was backing up
It was
towards
like
one.
it was doing like a reverse part. You know, when you really slow down to in a car to reverse
Yeah,
park,
yeah,
you go
yeah.
right down. That's the sort of impression it was giving me. It was slowing down. But all of us, like I say,
Right.
we stood up and this thing skipped across the sky like a stone. It skipped like a skimming stone across the sky, and all of a sudden, in like a split second, this thing was in the field next to us.
Right. Okay. It's strange, isn't it? There's so
Oh,
many accounts of this. When you see on videos, and either they've been debunked or not debunked, the ones which aren't debunked, but a lot of times when you see them, they are like stones on water. They skip almost through
yeah.
the atmosphere. And you saw that, my God.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Oh, we did. Yeah, we did. Yeah, and we was. That wasn't the end of that evening, though. There was again something really.
All right.
It wasn't so much myself. I remained practically unaffected by it. Only the fact that we were scared. Both of us. We run because it moved off slowly over eastward across
Uh-huh.
the race course itself and
Yeah.
vanished. And my cousin and I, we run all the way back to the White Admiral pub in Bevendine, where he lived. His mum and dad had the pub, and we
Okay.
run back. We run. I think it's about a mile. All the way back there without stopping. We run all the way back. We, I mean, we laughed afterwards, and we thought we'd been caught up to no good. What we were
Yeah.
doing out there, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know, it was looking back on it. We see something quite. Could I excuse me, Phil? So
Yeah. No problem. That's fine. Yeah. That's fine. No problem.
So
Yeah.
we run all the way back to the pub. And
Yeah.
we got back to the pub. Now both of us were we were little toe rags. We were, but we weren't naughty. We weren't horrible. We weren't spiteful. We didn't rob people, or we were kids having fun.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we got back to the pub, and neither of us. I wouldn't to this day. I wouldn't steal from my parents or family members.
No.
Just wouldn't dream of it. He was exactly the same mindset of me. He had the same upbringing or similar to mine. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This was so out of character what happened next. So we got back to the pub. I remember sitting on the far side of the pub feeling almost exhilarated. Right, we've just seen something absolutely unbelievable, whatever that was.
Right.
It was unbelievable. And we've just managed to get back, and we're all right. We're still here. We're still alive. Do you know what I mean? We've just had a really, really strange experience. And without saying anything, he walked over. Now, bear in mind, he was only 16. He's walked over to the fruit machine, this great big, old-fashioned fruit machine, right? Now, he started dragging this. I didn't know what he was doing. I thought he might have dropped something behind it, or I didn't know what. I didn't understand what he was doing. And this was about 3:30 in the morning or something like that. So very slowly, he's moving this fruit machine out. All of a sudden, he's laid this fruit machine on its back. He's picked the back end of the fruit machine up and started shaking it vigorously. I don't know how he done it. This thing weighed a ton, right?
Right.
All of a sudden, all this change started coming out of the fruit machine. It was everywhere. There was change everywhere, like 10p's and 50p's and pound coins. They were just, they were everywhere. And again, I was sat there in the pub. I was 14 years old. I didn't say anything. I was almost laughing at what I was seeing. I didn't understand what he was doing. Anyway, he's very slowly, again, he's put this fruit machine back down on its back, lifted it back up and wiggled it back into place. He's plugged it back in. He's scooped up all the change and stole this. I don't know how much he stole. I didn't want any part of this. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. He's just stole all that change from the fruit machine. Obviously, so this was Sunday morning, very early hours. Sunday lunchtime. The pub opened. One of the old boys has put 50p in the machine, and all of a sudden these reels of spitting up 20p's and 10p's, all the changes. So he's told the landlady, which is my auntie Leslie, and said to her, like, I think somebody's had a go at this fruit machine. It's dead obvious someone has definitely turned this thing upside down, and the only person it could have been was my cousin.
So can I ask, Chris?
Of course,
just a quick one. So just to get the timeline right, it was you saw this black triangle UFO, both of you.
Yes.
You then legged it to the nearest safe house, which was the pub where your cousin was staying.
Where he lived. Yes.
Yeah. And it's at that point that, without warning, he didn't tell you? You had no indication that he just...
no idea what he was going to do. That was such... looking back on it, I was very shocked. I was probably more shocked at what he done than what we'd seen earlier in the evening.
And that was that out of character, would you say, for your cousin at that time?
No, he'd never done nothing like that. He would never take a penny off his mum. He wouldn't do it. It changed his life. I think, I can't help but think what we see that night, it changed him. Something changed in him after we see that thing in the sky. Something changed completely. Like I say, unfortunately he died. I think it was about 2000. I want to say 2009 or 10. And he died very young. Before 36, I think he might have been. But he, after in his mid-30s, like, and he just spiraled over the years, totally out of control with substance abuse, chopping and changing partners, and he wasn't him.
Yeah.
After that,
did you ever talk about it, Chris, with him afterwards? Later on, as you got older, when you got older?
No. As he spiraled out of control, he was extremely difficult to approach with,
Right.
especially with emotional things. You know, he was a man's man, and he was one of the. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say it like that anymore. But he was an old-fashioned, you know, hard-faced, stiff upper lip.
Beer and Skittles kind of.
Yeah, he was. I don't know how else you put it these days without getting into trouble.
Yeah, I know that's a problem. Yeah, he was rugged.
Yes, that's a nice way to put it.
Rugged, let's call it
Rugged.
that.
Yeah, he was very rugged, Phil. He was just, he was who he was, but that he just wasn't himself after that. He was just never changed him. Something changed in him after that night.
Do you find that you had any to go back a little bit more? I just want to recap very quickly on when you were 7 years old and you had this out of body experience.
Yes.
When you were experiencing this out of body, you saw your own body lying down on the bed.
Yes, I did. And from the corner of the room, it was. I could see myself laid flat on my back, eyes open, in my pajamas.
Can you remember any other entity in that room with you?
No, but I'm gonna say something now. There was. I mean, I never regarded this too much as strange. So outside I lived on my bedroom was ground floor. It was part of an extension that my dad had built when me and my sister were very young. He extended the house. He built 2 bedrooms downstairs, and next to the bedrooms, he had the porchway built right to the outside. So me and my sister, we had these. They had the bedrooms upstairs. My granddad had the single bedroom that was upstairs. And me and my sister had our own rooms downstairs. But I had a drain cover. I had this manhole cover underneath, beside my the walkway by my bedroom window. I had a manhole cover. Now I know if someone flushed the toilet, the manhole cover would not move or anything. It would. It wouldn't move in heavy wind or anything. This thing was solid. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So every now and again, I would hear someone, but you could, if you walked across it, if my dad walked across it, I think it was ever so slightly, within millimeters, ever so slightly uneven, because you could hear it.
Okay.
You could hear it knock. Yep.
Yeah.
And I would hear that drain knocking at 2, 3, 4 in the morning when I couldn't sleep properly. I was never ever scared. But I always thought that somebody or something is walking over that drain cover.
Oh, yeah. See, why I went back is because I find it. I've heard before, and in a way, we have a correlation because I've had in the past where not just one thing has happened. There's been a trigger, and then it's carried on. These events have carried on, and one thing leads to another. And I have a feeling that maybe there's a lineage, a thread connecting them all. And I just wanted to go back to that to see if there was maybe a feeling you had as a kid. Maybe like some kids have imaginary friends, or maybe there was a feeling in the room when you were looking at yourself of something else being there. No, it was odd about the drain cover, though.
I honestly don't remember that. I do. The only thing that I could possibly relate to in that sort of area, I've never seen a human figure ghost or anything like that. Or do you know what I mean? Yeah. I'll get to other things that I have seen a little bit later.
That's fine. All right, that's good. If we then, so we're up to the point now where your cousin,
yes,
so he was had extraordinary amount of strength for that age, to tip the machine up. Didn't you find that at that time, like, odd. What was your reaction when you saw him lifting it up? Did you try and stop him? Were you just absolutely so stunned? I know I would be so stunned. I don't think I'd stop him. I would have like, oh my God, but I would have thought, my God, it's superhuman.
Yeah, I do remember that. Well, like I say, I was almost to the point of laughing because I didn't know what else to do. You know, when I see him started lifting this thing, I knew what he was going to do. When he started lifting the heavy bit, I was at first, I'm like, oh my God, he's going to rob this fruit machine. I know he is. He's going to take the money out of it. And then thinking afterwards, oh my God, how's he even lift that? Do you know what I mean?
Was he angry, Chris? Was he angry when he'd done that? Was he in a temper?
No, I don't think. We'd had a pretty good evening that evening. We'd been over to Woodendene, we'd seen friends, we've been up to no good as teenagers, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We never done anything that bad, you know. We've done kid stuff, and we were just a couple of kids. He'd had a few problems in his life. I think his mum had split up with his real father while he was very young. And I'm not sure what happened to his father. I don't think they stayed in contact. But his stepdad, Cameron, was always really, really nice to him, and he treated him like his own, you know. And so I don't think. All right, he may have had some harboured anger, maybe, you know, that didn't really show. But I don't know. I don't think.
I think a lot of teenagers have some harboured anger.
They're just like who you are, aren't you?
Yeah. But there was nothing. There was nothing which actually that you saw that, you know, he didn't. It wasn't like, because it sounded, from the way you described it, like an incredible Hulk moment. You know, totally out of character. Totally out of character.
Out of character. Yes.
Yeah. So, the next thing that you can remember. So that happened with your cousin.
Yes. The next thing I remember, I see a dog-like animal. Now,
right.
So the story is, so I used to do a lot of fishing in my late teens. When I got to about 17, 18, I used to love going fishing. And I would do a little bit of sea fishing. My dad had some sea fishing gear, but my favourite places were the lakes in East Sussex, all around Michelin Priory area, the Dicker area. It's not far from Eastbourne area of the south of England. There's some of the most stunning little fisheries all over East Sussex. They're beautiful.
Okay.
And, we went to myself and a friend who he's asked definitely not to be named in this. We went fishing to a place called the Belfry one evening. It's about 2 miles, I would say, away from Michelin Priory. It's 1066 country, you know. This is Battle of Hastings land, you know, not far from there. You're not far from Hastings. I think Michelin Priory goes back, centuries and centuries history. And the land around there is ancient. You've got some beautiful ancient old forests with some very old trees, 700-800 years old. Really, really stunning place. So we went fishing this particular evening to a place called the Belfry. You more than welcome to look it up on the internet. There's pictures on there. You can't quite see the cornfield, but I'm not even sure now if they farm corn on the land now. I haven't been there for years. So we pitched up that evening. We got our rods out. We stayed the night at the fishery. We'd had a couple of drinks, let's say, but both of us. I even now I don't drink a lot. I just have a couple of social beers. You know, I'm quite. I have. You know,
you don't get mullered.
No, I have. Of course, we all have done. You know.
Yeah. Christmas, New Year's. Yeah. Like, you know.
And so anyway, we'd had a few drinks this evening, and right next to the fishery, it was probably about 11 o'clock at night. I remember it being dark, and it would have been in the middle of summer.
Yeah.
So probably about 11 o'clock at night. I needed to go to the loo, so I've got up right next to the fishery. Was a sweet corn field, and the corn was very, very high. I can't remember if it was ready or nearly ready. So I would have put it midsummer. We were there. I know it would have been. That's when we used to go.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe August sort of time, even.
Mm.
And I ready. So I've got up to go to the loo, and I've gone over towards the cornfield.
Yeah.
I've stood there as I'm going to the loo. This dog-like animal came out of the corn. And it came, it was very, very big. It was much, much bigger than a normal dog. This was a huge, quite fat animal. It had quite long legs, I remember. And I remember it was that clear, that prominent. As it come by me, I went to stroke it. It was that close. I went to stroke it. And it had, it was on all fours. It wasn't standing up. It didn't have red eyes or anything like that. But it was so realistic, I went to touch it.
Okay.
Actually, but as I touched it, or as I went to touch it, my hand just disappeared through it. It vanished. It wasn't there anymore.
Okay.
Yeah. So
yeah.
That was my first sighting of what I would. The only way I could describe that as some sort of cryptid animal,
Okay, can I go back a little bit over that? Now, when you first saw it coming out, Chris, through the cornfield, did you see the cornfield kind of as something would go through, it would disturb the corn? As you were having a wee, did you see the corn being disturbed as it was coming through? Or?
No, it just came through like a ghost.
Did you hear it? Did you hear anything?
No. I didn't hear anything. Hear anything.
Did you see its face?
Not full frontal, a little bit of the side. I was face forward looking.
Yeah.
This thing's come almost out behind me.
Yeah.
Of the field. And as I've gone to touch it, it wasn't there.
Interesting.
From the behind me.
Interesting. And you're how tall at that time? How tall?
At the time, 5'5", maybe 5'6".
5'6". Okay. And can you remember if you went out to touch it? When it was quadrupedal on all fours, was it your waist height or higher?
Yeah, it was. Oh God, maybe even slightly higher. It was slightly higher. Up to about just past me hip there.
Okay.
It was big. It was so much bigger than what you call it. It was, and it was like a dog-like animal. Yeah.
I can't see it being a dog, but personally, because you went, you don't know, but it was. Oh, how strange! See, that is absolutely unique. I've never heard of anyone going to put a hand out towards it.
No, this thing I thought I was going to stroke it. Well, I love animals. One of I absolutely adore animals. Yeah. And if a dog approaches me, as long as I don't feel threatened, I would no matter how I love puppies, but I would stroke any dog if
the same as me. I love dogs. Yeah. You had no feeling then from it of kind of, oh no, I'm not going to touch that.
No. I was very, if anything, I was curious. I was definitely none of my experiences, apart from the triangle, have ever made me scared. I've never been scared of them. I've got a very curious personality, and I love new and different things. You know, try and look at things, or most things anyway, in a scientific sort of way. You know, try and as objective as I could possibly be as a human. You know.
Yeah. While we think of it, can I ask you this?
Yes.
With the triangle, why did that in particular? What part of seeing that triangle scared you?
I think it was because we was up to no good in the first place. I genuinely think that. I think if we'd have seen that on a normal day and we had nothing to run away from, or you know, I think I pray literally to see another one, because I would not run away next time. I would definitely walk towards it. I would try and approach it without.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's odd with the dog. Very odd. How fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. And it just disappeared as you went there. It went past you and just
to the side of me, to the right side. I still had my bits out, which was very, you know.
Yeah.
So it was almost awkward. Yeah. This out from the corner. I watched it, and it come round to the side of me. Big. It had like a grey and black, like big patches. Not quite like a Dalmatian, but yeah, the spotted dog. Sort
of. So it had patches of grey. It was like kind of
like patches of black and grey.
Okay. Did it look? I often wonder this, and people often don't mention it when they see sightings. But did it look in poor condition? You know, did it look kind of like
it was full of mange or something?
Yeah.
No, it didn't. I probably wouldn't have touched it if I thought that. But
no,
it didn't come across sick, or if it had problems with skin or fur or anything like that. It just appeared.
And his ears were pointed. What direction? Were they flapping down?
Up. They were up. They were this. I only see the side of its head, if you like. I didn't see its eyes. I've had two more. I've had two more sightings of the same animal over the years.
Okay.
And I've never seen its face fully, and I've definitely never seen its eyes. So I haven't seen like the classic red eyes, or you know, werewolf features or anything like that.
Yeah. Oh, fascinating. When you went back to your friend who was still fishing at the time, what did he make of it?
I remember. Now, I spoke to him very recently, and I asked him if he remembered that night, because I'm sure he called out, "What the hell was that? What was that?" I'm sure he called that out. I'm sure he see it, and I mean, we both just. In fact, I know he sees something. He sees something. But when I spoke to him a few weeks ago, I mean, we went fishing so many times. We were young teenagers, up to no good so many times. He doesn't. I don't think he remembers that night like I remember that. He saw something, but he probably dismissed it as nothing. You know.
Okay. So when he saw something.
Yeah, sorry, Chris. But when I gone back to him, and because he said to me, "What was that?" And I said, "I thought it was a dog," and he laughed, and we sort of never really spoke about it after that. You know, what was that? You know, I know he called it out. I know he did. I know he saw something. I know he did. He doesn't remember.
Did he mention anything at the time? Oh yeah, I saw. Did you say that dog? I saw that dog.
No. He saw something out. Like, oh my God, what's that? Something out the corner of his eye, almost. You know.
Okay.
Interesting. You know, because I remember saying, I thought it was a dog. I thought it was a dog, and he laughed, and because it wasn't there anymore.
Interesting. Okay, in your own time, would you like a break at all? Are you okay to carry on?
I'd love to have a quick drink, 2-minute break, and a puff on a cigarette.
Yeah, no, did you crack on? I'll just. Okay, right. Hiya, Chris.
You're right, Phil.
Yeah, good. I just had to stop and have a bit of a break there. Okay, so we're up to I forgot what we're up to now. That's right. Yes, the dog. Yes. Yeah.
So that was my next memorable experience throughout my childhood. I've just I have thought of something else, and I'm seeing quite a lot of stuff on the internet about it now. Is time loss. Now, when we were kids, I do remember this. I was probably a little bit older than 9 or 10. We did, as a group, experience of time loss, but it was, I don't know. It was we experienced the time loss. It was about half an hour. It was about half an hour. We used to walk a certain path. I could show you it on a map. In fact,
yeah,
I'll send you. I'll be able to show you this pathway. I think we could do it in about 20 minutes. And I used to walk my dog. I had a little black Jack Russell years ago, and we used to take her up the fields, and we do it. It's like a horseshoe behind the houses. I think we could do this horseshoe for 20 minutes. It's about a 20-minute walk. If it's in a straight line, it would probably be about half a mile, maybe 3/4.
Yeah.
It's all up in the hills. It's on the South Downs, and it'd take about 20 minutes to get round. And I remember this one particular time, and again, this was almost like the out-of-body experience when we told someone. It was, oh, yeah, no problem. You know, you're a nice lolly, you know, oh, we're going out later. It's just totally dismissed. But we lost half an hour up there one day. Now, what was thinking back on it, what was quite strange about that is my dog never stopped walking. So if we stopped, stood still, or we sat down, so we could never take my dog to a picnic. She wouldn't let us sit down. She'd be running around us, tugging at our feet, trying to take her for a walk. So she wouldn't let us stop, basically. You know, she weren't vicious or anything like that. She was a dinky little Jack Russell. She was so funny, but she wouldn't let us stop walking. So roughly about 20 minutes it used to take us to walk around. I think the place on the map, it's called Hog Trough Bottom in Bevendane. It's at the back of Bevendane.
Okay.
I'll show you. I'll send you it on a map. And we got back, and we'd been an hour. We'd been about an hour. And it was just another thing that it just popped into my head while we're talking. You know, I remember that. But we never thought it significant. Never ever thought it that significant. And so I'm seeing a lot of stuff about time loss at the moment. On YouTube. But I mean, we didn't see anything, or you know, it was nothing else. But we lost about half an hour. Now my dog would never have stopped walking. She wouldn't have let us stop, and it only took us 20 minutes to get round there. And this day, we lost about half hour.
Okay, Chris, can I ask, was anyone else in the group aware of that time being lost?
My little sister was in the group. Two of the other children. So I think there were 4 of us, if I remember right. It would have been 4 or 6 of us, but it was very rare that the 6 of us were all together. So it was likely the 4 of us. My sister, she would have been about 8 or 9, and I mean, I could ask her if she remembers that. Definitely, she was part of that group. The other 2, we lost contact with years ago. We went to different schools. We all moved away from the area. I have no idea. What happened to the other kids that were with us that day? But yeah, I do remember that. It wasn't a lot of time. We weren't gone for days or anything like that. But we lost half hour, and it was weird. You know, and it sticks. Shall I say, it sticks out in my mind. In the past few weeks, it has stuck out in my mind because I'm seeing quite a lot of stuff on YouTube about time. You experienced a little bit of time loss, I suppose. But I mean, looking back, we were kids. We could have been dragging our heels that day. I don't remember going up there to play or build a camp or build a rope swing or anything like that. And my dog just wouldn't have let us anyway. if we stood still or sat down, she would be just running around us, barking and just making us try and take her for a walk, you know.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Can I ask one thing about that? What red flagged it up to you that you had lost time? So basically, you know, when you started walking with the dog, so you had your Jack Russell and you're going along, and then did you get somewhere and someone said to you, you're late?
I think you call it, is it circadian rhythm, where your body and time?
Yeah.
So my circadian rhythm is excellent. It's like a human, almost like a human clock. I wake up exactly the same time every morning. If you ask me the time, I don't wear a watch or anything like that. Usually tell you within about 10 minutes without even looking at a clock what the time is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've got a very good sense of time, and I how I keep that sense of time is, if I do see a clock, is I will make a note of that time.
Okay.
And I remember very, very clearly, if we went out, just for example, at 4 o'clock, I would, as I walked out the door through the hallway, the clock, I would have made a mental note of that every time. Every time I went to school, every time I got the bus, every time I'd done something, I would make a mental note of the time. And that's when we got back. We'd been gone an hour. So we had a clock in the hallway. It would have been. Yeah.
So okay, right, good, all right. So that's interesting. Why are you thinking about it? Why did it recently? Is it because of you been watching? Times.
I mean, I watch a hell of a lot of phenomena-related stuff. You know, cryptids. We watch ancient. My wife loves Ancient Aliens. I am a fan. I think some of it's very, very interesting. Some of it maybe not so, but I watch a lot of stuff. And on my YouTube, I'm subscribed to, it's about 60 different channels that do this sort of stuff. UFOs and extreme mysteries, cross court art, so on and so on. And up on my YouTube, on my feed, over the past couple of weeks, I've been seeing a lot about time loss, and I just think last week maybe, I'm thinking of that time that we took Ollie out, and it took us an hour to walk around the course. It was just, did we experience time? It's questionable, Phil. You know, I mean, I can't breathe. And the frustrating thing for me as well, I've never had a camera. I've never had a microphone or camera or anything where I can prove to you what I've seen. You know, I'm not going to swear on the Bible or anything like that. You please take me at face value. You know, I know exactly what I've seen. You know, and
but you know what? It's funny. I talking to people, I just know.
If they're away
you speak from the hip, you speak from the hip, and very sincere in what you've seen. You're very sincere in what you're saying, the way you portray it, the way you come across with it. You know, you don't overly embellish.
No,
you don't fluff it up. You know what I mean? It is, you've seen it, you explain it. Exactly.
I see it. You know.
Yeah. So you make it sound, it's very credible. I think very credible indeed. You know. So that was the first.
Thank you.
Dogman. Oh, you're welcome. No, more than welcome. It's you know, I if you like, I say it as I see it.
Stuff, Phil. I'm not. It's very easy for me to. I know you're an experiencer yourself. You've had experience with lots of different weird and wonderful stuff, as well as me. I can relate to you. I work with some very, very intelligent people, you know, and I've tried to bust this conversation with some of the smartest people that I know, and they shut down, Phil. They can't cope with it. They don't.
No.
They don't know how to deal with some of this. They certainly never seen anything, you know, but they don't even. They shut down mentally.
Yeah. Some people, I honestly, I do think that if it's not, there is no grey area for some people, and this is very much a grey area we're talking about.
This is something. This is something else.
Absolutely, something else, and you know, you, because there's nothing tangible to grasp onto with any of what we've experienced, but in the same instance, it's very, very credible and noteworthy, and it has to be taken on board by a lot of people. It has to be taken on board that these things have been experienced, have been seen, because of the quantity of people and the quality of the people that have seen these things.
Yes.
There's nothing to gain by you. There's nothing to gain by me.
No. In fact, quite the opposite. Because I hope it does for you and your podcast. I really do. But if this goes viral, you're open to the skeptics, wide open, and they can be so ruthless, cruel, unnecessarily cruel, especially people that have never experienced anything. The absolute disbelievers, and it's like, and it's I'm very pleased with the way, like, the UAP's movement, if you want to call it that, is coming forward. Skinwalker Ranch is they're trying to explain some stuff down there. It's becoming easier to talk about this, but I would never ever have done this. Absolutely no way in the world prior to 2017. I would not have been able to even talk about this openly, but possibly with an experiencer, maybe, but I wouldn't have been able to talk about this up until just a few years ago,
No, I agree. I think just lately, I think it has, I wouldn't say become more palatable to people, but I would say that it's because of the, as I say, the quality of the witnesses and the sightings that they've had are, do you know what I think, Chris? It's because people that in different parts of the country, sometimes in different parts of the world, and they have the same stereotypical experiences, and there's little details to these experiences which they're not to know, but they come across and they're spot on point. And it makes you think, hang on a minute, right, okay, it's absurd because you mentioned about the black triangle kind of like backing up as if it sort of should have a bleeper on the back going beep 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 beep,
it's like
it's somehow so absurd. It's such an absurd thing, but it's something that I've heard of before, and if you hadn't have witnessed it, hadn't have seen it, and it was all in your head, why would you have mentioned it? Because it's so absurd.
Yeah, exactly that. My wife, she saw something years ago in Brighton as well. We're both from there, like, and she probably never. She spoke to me about it, but she would never come forward like this and say she's seen something like that. All these years, she did that to herself. She was a little girl. She see a craft quite almost above her, above the houses in Hollandine in Brighton, not far from Brighton, where Brighton Meat Market is situated. It's not far from there. It's where she had her sight, and I think she said she was about 9 or 10 years old. And but I think a lot of people have seen something, but this is where I feel the experiencer comes from. Some people will see something, they'll just absolutely dismiss it. Oh, it was an aeroplane, or it must have been a drone or a helicopter or something like that. People, they don't even realise they are experiencers, but they will never, because they don't give it a chance, they will never really look for it. So someone like yourself or myself that have seen these things, seen something really strange in the sky, and we know it was so real that it's there. We know it's there. I know it's there. Yep.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
the more you look for it, and the more you look for it, the more you will see it.
Yeah.
The more you see it, the more you believe it, the more you know it's there, the more you look for it.
Yeah, that's true. It's a self-perpetuating thing, really. It is. Yeah, very much so. It's Mark Twain, isn't it? You know, Mark Twain, if you look into the abyss, be careful because it also looks into you.
Look back, you know it's
or
there.
Words to that effect. Words to that effect.
And the more you know it's there, the more experiences you have. You know, I'd like to think a lot of the strange stuff would be regarded as contact experiences, but a lot of them feel that they're really not contact experiences. I'm just seeing something that is there, but it's just really strange. You know, really weird stuff.
Yeah. 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 Has it? Do you feel it's affected you in any way?
No, it absolutely. I love Jeremy Corbell. It weaponizes my curiosity.
Yeah.
Weaponize it. The more I speak from my own experience, because I knew from a very young age, from when I was 14, that there is something that is out there that is not us. That didn't belong to us, you know. And from a young age, I knew that was there, but I never really actively looked for it. Only probably in the past 4 or 5 years. But the more I looked for it, the more I see it, and the more I see it, the more I wanted to look for it. So all of a sudden, my experiences, especially with UAP and orbs, orange and blue orbs, and I've seen in the past couple of years probably more in the sky that is strange, doing strange right-hand turns, or I see a blue orb once. It flew. It was probably a couple of 100 meters across the houses at the bottom of my road. This thing came 180. It stopped in midair and done 180. Just stopped.
I've seen them do that. Yeah.
Off in another direction.
Yeah.
And so we know they're there. So I've joined in the past since 6 or 7 months ago, I've joined CE5 groups. So I was at a CE5 meeting last weekend in Eastbourne, and we had a really lovely evening, and we see a lot of satellites, and we see a few maybes, but nothing really stuck out. But it was a really pleasant evening. I met the Eastbourne group, which was really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I saw I saw at Eastbourne. I remember being there once, and I saw a dancing shark on the beach.
Really?
Yes. What it was. It must have been this guy. Yeah, it must have been this guy, right? And it must have been either a college or a university kind of film they were doing. I looked down. I was with my missus at the time. We had our dogs with us, and looked down, and all of a sudden there was this dancing shark with legs in a shark costume and being filmed. And she was like kind of dancing on the beach. It was a few years ago now. I think it was about just after lockdown, just after COVID. But yeah, that was a bit of a mind flip. I've seen a few weird things, but you know,
shark, brilliant.
Yeah, only in Eastbourne, though. Only in Eastbourne. Yeah.
Nice. But yeah, so after so we're going back to after the sighting I had in the Belfry.
Yeah.
So go back to the Belfry, East Sussex. When I say that animal, I think after that, I had what I now know as sleep paralysis. I've had it once, and I woke up, and that was the next thing that I can remember. It was probably about 10 years after I see that dog-like animal come out of that cornfield. I remember I'd done a lot of contract work in Europe when I was younger, and I was quite lucky. We started off in Holland, we would go up to Norway to go and do season work up in Norway. I worked in Denmark. I worked in Sweden for 6 months. We worked all over the place. We had a fantastic life when we were younger, and I have a fantastic life now. Anyway, it was a good life now. And I remember we was in Norway, and we were staying in a place called Steinvik Camping. I'll never forget this as well. We stayed there about 3 years on the trot. They would rent out the whole of Steinvik Camping from September right through to December to 40 contract workers. We were the only ones on the whole campsite, and
wow.
do you remember Auf Wiedersehen, Pet?
Yeah, I was going to say it sounded like Auf Wiedersehen, Pet. Yeah,
it was as funny as that. We had some great times over there, and some absolutely. I mean, that is a totally different story. Some of the most outrageous things you've ever heard.
I can imagine
over there as well.
I can imagine that.
Quite literally, So
yeah.
So we stayed over there, and I remember I can't remember which season it was. I think I was in my late 20s, so I do remember that. And I'd woken up. Funny enough, I'd woken up quite late this morning. We must have been out the night before for me to have woken up that late, because I mean, without a drink in me or without being in young party mode. I'd wake up, I have done for years, at exactly 5 o'clock every single morning, without a doubt,
Okay.
With exception, sometimes, it's another strange thing, because I've heard a lot of people talk about this, is the 3 o'clocks. When you wake up pranged at 3 o'clock. That happens to me sometimes, but that again, the
devil's hour, because I believe what it is, Christ was meant to have been crucified at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. So they've taken it with the occult and dark magic, take it to be the devil's hour, being the absolute opposite reverse, which is 3 a.m. in the morning. That would be because it's the exact opposite to the time he was crucified, to the time. Yeah, that's what I believe. Yeah. The devil's hour, they call it.
But, the 3 o'clock prangs. Apart from that, at 5 o'clock every morning I wake up. And this particular morning I woke up. I was in the bottom bunk bed in the cabin, and I was frozen. I couldn't move. And it's probably the only experience that I was scared. Oh my God, I can't move. What have I done to myself? What the hell? I didn't feel anything on my chest or anything like that. I was wide awake,
right.
Like I was a piece of stone. I could not move for 20 seconds, 30 seconds. Then all of a sudden I snapped out of it, as if I'd been woken up, but I was already awake.
Interesting.
I woke up in that frozen state. It was just scared the life out. That scared me, because I honestly thought at the time, oh my God, I've done something to myself. Excuse me.
I've
paralyzed myself or something like that.
Yeah.
Logical explanation. What? Oh my God, did I get that drunk that I've really hurt myself? And then all of a sudden, I just snapped out of it. It just
right.
And then I weren't scared anymore. I was like, I just want to get up, have a coffee. But again, at the time, I'd never heard of sleep paralysis. But that was what that was. 100%.
Scary.
Yeah, that scared me. That did scare me.
Yeah, because you totally lose control of your bodily functions from the point of view of moving your arms and legs. It's you just and the frightening part I found when I had my episode was I was conscious enough to know I was trying to lift my legs and trying to lift my arms. So I was like, it's not a case of lucid dreaming. I know I was awake, But
it was a case of that as well. Because I was young, and I have drunk a lot in the past. You know what I mean? I think we all,
Oh yeah,
But I was always done a very manual job. I was was chunky, but I was always quite fit, you know. And, I just that was extremely. That scared me. Only because I genuinely thought that was, oh my God, I've done something to myself. You know, I feel paralysed. I don't know what, you know. So that was my next most memorable experience.
What time was that? Was that in the morning, Chris? Sorry,
Yeah,
was that
about 9 or 10 in the morning? I woke up late
okay.
that day. I was late that day, but I can't remember the night before. I can't remember genuinely what we were doing the night before. We could have been anywhere or doing anything, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
We definitely had a drink. It was a Sunday morning. We'd have had a drink on the Saturday night, definitely.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's honest of you. That's honest of you. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so it was just another really strange event, which I now know. Again, there's a name for that.
Yeah, and very often things like that happen with when you have the paralysis like that, and people often see entities along with it. You know, that's when they see the shadow beings in their room, and you know, when I had my episode, I had that's when I saw my first and thank goodness only shadow being. But very scary, very scary. You know, let alone doesn't matter about shadow being, you know, not being able to move.
Oh no,
and you're so young at the time, very young to have that.
I was 28, 20. I'm only 27, 28, 29 years old. We went over for 3 or 4 seasons to Norway, and I think it might have even been 4 seasons because we spent a season up on the west coast as well. That's where we got a propeller plane up to from Schiphol Airport.
Okay.
So so that was my next one. Now, I did I lived in Holland for about 4 years, and obviously I enjoyed the culture over there. I was young and not stupid, but had a lot of fun. It's a fun place, Holland. If you know, people talk about going to Amsterdam and the red light and that, but we lived on the German border. We lived a place called Enschede, and we'd frequent Amsterdam. We'd go down and have party weekends. We were young.
You're gonna have fun.
I was in Holland from when I was 20. I think it was 21 until I was 24. So I had a couple of really good years over there. You know, so I tried to steer away from the hard stuff over there, if you like. You know.
Yeah.
But they've got what they call the smart shops over there. So we would go into these smart shops and see what, you know, it's like getting kids in a sweet shop over there. They sell this stuff in shops, you know.
Okay.
Buy mushrooms. You can buy what I now know as ayahuasca. You can buy salvia, divinorum. You can buy all natural psychedelics over the counter. You still can in Holland. Okay.
Oh my word. Right. Yeah.
So they're called smart shops. They're smart shops. They're legal to sell dosage amounts of this. So you can, at the moment, I don't think you're allowed magic mushrooms over there, but you are allowed the truffles, which are practically the same. They're just grown underground. Yep. So, and then you've got, you'll be allowed to buy the separate ingredients that make ayahuasca drink from South America. You can buy that over the counter in smaller doses. So we again, we were 21, 22 or something like that. And we went to a smart shop. This is another strange experience, if you like. But I mean, we were under the influence, but we took the ayahuasca drink and he told us how to cook it.
Okay.
You have to boil it with vinegar, and you mess about with it. He said it's actually quite simple. It's very simple to do. And he said to us, he said you drink one. He said you'll feel a bit sick. He said if you're sick, it's fine. He said drink the other one.
Yeah.
And we done it this evening, and I sat next to a blue goddess being. After that, she was sat next to me. It was a female deity, and it was like a Indian. The only way I can describe it is like a Shiva. I don't know if you've seen the blue goddess in India with 8 arms.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
If you could picture one of them with 2 arms, that's what was sat next to me that evening. It was one of the most surreal experiences I've ever seen. It was a female blue being. I never took anything back for. I just looked at her. She was absolutely. It's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life. Was that?
Did you have any conversation with her?
No, I was just about to say I took nothing back from her. I took nothing back from that. It was a full visual experience only. I would love to have interacted somehow. I would have, looking back on it, I'm too old to do that sort of stuff now, and we live in the UK. I don't live in Holland anymore, so there's legalities behind it, you know. If I could possibly go to a legal retreat and recreate that, I would definitely consider that. Maybe one day, you know. But that was very, very intense experience. It was
very fascinating. I mean, I often, you know, when I watch some of the documentaries, and you know, they've got like the tribal elders, and they've usually got a young lad, and they give them this smoke or drink. I'm not quite sure, but no, one or the other. That's hallucinogenic, and it does open up another world completely. And some of the things they bring back knowledge, and they bring back.
Well, that's so fascinating.
Very fascinating.
I never brought anything back from that experience apart from a visual. Oh my God, I've just sat next to God, quite literally sat next to God. And I if I could do it again, I would probably try to interact if I ever had that experience again. But it's quite fascinating. There's a university at the moment. I can't, again, anyone watching this, please correct me if I'm wrong, but this is there is a university at the moment, I'm not sure which one, that is mapping the hyperspace created by the DMT hallucinogen, which is the ingredient of ayahuasca. They're mapping the hyperspace, the DMT hyperspace. That's what I've heard. They due to the amount of, I think, shared experiences. So the same stuff, the ayahuasca, it's known for being able to, people can see these deities, these entities, the DMT entities, but people also share the same experience, which doesn't seem to happen on other psychedelics. So if 2 people in the same room can see the same hallucination, and that's what they're mapping at the moment. I think that's I'd have to look it up properly, but I think that's fairly correct. They're actually looking into actually mapping this place, this dimension that can be unlocked with these plants that have been used for centuries as well, you know. So
I'll put up on here if anyone when you're watching, if you have any comments or you'd like to contact Chris, then you can either do that through my Facebook page, or I'll put my email up here at the bottom of the screen. On the description of this, I shall put other details as well. I'll have a word with Chris and see what contact details he'd like to put forward, and whatever they are, I'll put on the description. If you have any questions for him or would like to follow him, then that's fine. So I'll just put those up. I thought I'd just mention that, Chris, for people watching.
No problem at all.
They've got a voice. So.
No problem.
It is really fascinating that because they have the same, you know, it's almost like they have this drug and they go to the same waiting room.
Yes.
I've heard this before now. They go to the same waiting room, and they see other. Also, I've heard that they see other experiencers there who've had this drug, waiting in the waiting room.
Yeah, it's again. This isn't the stuff isn't. This isn't for a party. It's not something you would take to a party.
No,
This stuff.
no.
It is. There's a reason people go and do it in the middle of the jungle.
Mm.
In retreats, you know, in really relaxed environments. It is not a it's a full experience, not a buzz, not a cheap buzz. Do you know what I mean?
No,
Like,
no.
it's really, I feel you can really see into something else with this stuff, you know. And
Yeah.
the DMT, the active ingredient, they claim, I don't, again, please correct me if I'm wrong, but they claim that when a person dies, that DMT is somehow released into the brain at that point. So it's very likely, if that's correct, that the last thing you would see of this earth before you died is a full hallucinogenic psychedelic trip, if you like.
Wow, didn't know that.
Yeah, I again, please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not, you know, I do read a lot of stuff, and I should fact check a lot more stuff than I actually do. But it does make sense, and I have heard that from multiple sources. And again, they are mapping this stuff at a university. They're mapping the actual space itself. They're mapping the psychedelic world that you can see using this stuff. They're actually doing that.
Yeah.
So, and again, I think, and I'll be safe to say that DMT is something to do with death.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, because I think it's that isn't it the last part of the brain that is shut down is, or two parts, the hippocampus and then the pineal, isn't it?
I'm not, without looking that up, Phil, I'm not 100% sure what
I'm
that
not, no.
process would be. I mean, I have, yeah, some experience of death, which I would talk off air about, not a problem. But it was never that in depth, so I really couldn't say what the exact process was, you know.
Do you know, Chris, I often wonder, when they have this particular drug, they often say that the experiences they have are godly, biblical.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And this is coming from people not particularly involved with the church, not particularly, followers of, religion. And yet they have the same. It's almost as if it's a drug that opens up a window in one's mind, which releases that there's a thought in there. There's a biblical that everyone has hidden away, which is a kind of it's a biblical world that opens up.
Yes,
because they all seem to have the same.
I've often thought now I'm no expert. I read and listen to a lot of stuff. I've got a lot of junk information up there floating around, you know. But the Bible, a lot of meetings with entities, you know, could some of them actually be attributed to this drug? Maybe they were drinking these sort of teas or tree barks that have been used. I do know, although the ayahuasca drink is used in South America because of the ingredients, but the Middle East has also got two very similar plants that do exactly the same thing that are very not talked about, and that's the acacia bark, and Assyrian rue.
Okay.
and cooked exactly the same way as you would cook ayahuasca in South America, you can cook these two in the Middle East. Both of them grow wild in the Middle East and get exactly the same effect.
Wow.
So
fascinating.
Could some of these biblical stories, these religious texts, could they be, because of these plant-based, what they would have called medicine in the past? We call them drugs now, but I think they were given to us as medicine. They really were.
But they would have had an origin. They would have had origin, Chris. So just think about the first person to write the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Yes.
The Book of Enoch. Enoch, he wrote Book of Enoch. To write a story, okay, well, I'm going to take some ayahuasca and I'm going to hallucinate about something and then write it down as a story. That's fair enough. Write that down as a story. That's marvelous, brilliant, really good story. In my brain, it looked brilliant. But then someone who hasn't read that story, taking the same drug half a world away, has that same, maybe not same story, but the same lines, the same subject matter.
Yes.
That's what's really interesting.
Yes.
There's an origin there, and that origin is deities,
yes.
Giants, biblical, glowing figures,
mystical figures.
Mystical figures, yeah. That's what's really, of all the things to hallucinate about, they
call it the God. I think, is it the God drug or the God molecule? Is the active ingredient, or the main active ingredient in the ayahuasca in South America and the acacia in the Middle East, is dimethyltryptamine, or DMT. And they call it the God molecule or the God drug for that reason. The entities, the DMT entities, and they are very, very. When I see that blue being up close, personal film, I've never seen anything like that. That was, and I felt so. The right word for this: privileged.
Really privileged.
Like she'd come to see me for. I don't quite understand. I'm autistic, Phil. I struggle with emotions, feelings, and things like that. But that's the closest I could get to it. Is I felt privileged to be in her company, that she'd come and see me. Like someone really, really special would come and see me and hold me,
Like
King Charles knocking on my door.
Come
and have a cup of tea with me. How privileged. Like, oh my God, why have you picked me? Like, why me? I'm certainly nobody special. I'm just average guy. Do you know what I mean?
Come on in. I'll get the best cutlery out.
So, it's like you come and see me. It felt very personal as well. But that's another very, very pleasant, strange experience that I've had. It was, if you were anyone, it was drugs. This is plant-based medicine we're talking about. That's my opinion on it.
It's fascinating.
So
absolutely, I mean, when you think about it, it's just like because it's a being which is obviously. It sounds like there was many people in that room, but it was personal to you.
Oh yeah, no, it was very, very personal to me. I can't remember if I was. I think I was actually on my own. We was in the house in Holland. There was. Sometimes there could be 10 of us in the house at any one time. But this would have been definitely late on a Saturday night or early hours of a Sunday morning. And this would have definitely been while everybody was out. Because I do not remember other people, and I certainly don't remember any other entities in the room, or feeling like there was anybody else in the room at the time. It just felt like a really, really, really close special encounter with this blue goddess. That's the only way I can describe her. She was one of the most stunningly beautiful things I've ever seen. You know.
Did you? One closing point on this. Did you have any, or was it that the deity was so almost godlike that you didn't feel that you wanted to reach out and touch her? Now, I'm not saying that it metamorphosized into physical. I know it's not physical. I know that's fine. We know because of the drug.
Yes.
But what I'm trying to get my head around is, because it seems so real to you in that state.
Yes.
Would you have had? Would it have been tactile also in your head? You know, would you have felt it? I wonder.
Oh, I don't know. I honestly don't. I'm not sure I can answer that. Like you say, it was. I know for a fact there is something. This DMT world exists, yeah, and inside this realm, inside this holographic realm, these entities are there. Some people claim they can talk to them. Some people say they've brought information back from them. Some people, you know how to reach out to them and find them, you know. But
so you were privileged to have a window, Chris. You had a window for a very short period of time.
Short period of time that this being chose to come and sit with me. And I have absolutely no reason, no idea to why. You know, people talk about these entities. They're like what you would describe as shadow beings. Yeah.
Yeah.
This thing, she sat next to this thing. She sat next to me. She was sat next to me. This wasn't a shadow being. You know.
No.
Brilliant, bright, electric blue, and full 3-dimensional psychedelic.
Did she walk over and then sit down?
No, I was. If I remember right, I turned and she was just there.
Just there.
Just there. There was no. She didn't materialize through a wall or anything like that. Just she was there. She was sat next to me when I looked in that particular time.
Did she see you? Did she look at you?
I think so. She sat there.
You know, I mean, what? Yeah, do you remember her looking at you, or did you feel that she knew you were there?
No, there was no. I struggle terribly with eye contact anyway. So if we was to ever meet, I struggle terribly with eye contact. So it's definitely not the first thing I wouldn't do. The same with the experience with a dog. It's not actually look at the face. It's actually look at the animal or person as a whole. You know. But no, I didn't feel. I certainly didn't look into her eyes, or she didn't try to look into my eyes. She was just sat. She was sat with me. And it's funny because of my ASD, that she sat there exactly how my ideal person would sit there, is actually not looking at me, not staring at me, not making me interact. You know. She was peaceful. She was not imposing, or you know, she was very, very comfortable to sit next to. Very comfortable. And again, it is a psychedelic. You do get that. You are high at the time, you know. But I remember that so very, very vividly. It was very, very pleasant experience. Strange, very strange. I got to see this holographic place where these things are reported to be, you know.
It definitely made an impression on you. It definitely made an impression on you. I can see that.
You know,
I can see it. They made an impression.
I can see why people would try something like that, because they're talking about trying this sort of stuff for people with severe depression, mental health issues. I get that. I absolutely 100% get that. But when we were in Holland, we were in the best state of mental health that I have been in my whole life. We were young, we were carefree, we were earning a lot of money, and we had a lot of fun. We had absolutely no cares in the world, you know. So I didn't take that for as a medicinal. I took that because you can buy that legally over the counter from a shop, you know, and get the instructions how to brew it for yourself. But again, we was young. We didn't know it as what we now know as ayahuasca. We would go in there and ask him what he's got. We tried the magic mushrooms. We liked them. They were fun. But thank God they made me so sick. I was so sick, and I've heard that a lot of people they purged on them. It's really uncomfortable for me. And
I've heard a lot. I've heard a lot of quite when people overdo the magic mushrooms, they kind of. I've heard some proper horror stories about those. You know, And I just want to stress here for anyone listening that you know, we don't. These are all, like Chris have said, these are all natural products, and we don't encourage anyone to try these, because
law in England, please do not.
No. And also,
this Holland it's legal. These
you
can buy this stuff over the counter in another country, but not here.
Yeah, not here. And also from, you know, I think Chris will agree, from a health point of view and mental health point of view, it's not a good thing for people to experiment with, really. You know, this is something which, when you're in the appropriate country and it is available, of course, like young guys and women are going to try, like you would get drunk for the first time, you know, but as recommending for people, no, it's not. It's not something that we would recommend. No, this is just a account of what has happened.
This is an account of what got me some of my strange experiences.
In
a legal setting.
Yes,
completely legal setting.
Another thing I just thought of, you know, Chris, is you mentioning about the you know, when you die, you get this release of the same drug.
Yes,
maybe that's why everyone sees the tunnel of light. And they got this strong compulsion to go into that light. You know, it's like kind of, you know, like Poltergeist. Don't go into the light, Marianne. You know,
you know. I think that's the realm of consciousness without memory. If consciousness is, they think it's possibly a field. I would like to think of consciousness as a field, like some form of field that every now and again can take a form, i.e. us or animals. But when the body gives up, that consciousness goes back to that light and stays conscious without memory. And that's what I think the light is.
Right, okay. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
this field, what they would call heaven.
Yeah. Did you hear about the thing where, you know, when somebody dies, they weigh the body, and afterwards, everyone weighs something like, I'll have to Google it. It's about 3 grams less than what they did when they were alive.
I think they've tried to do this on and off for a long time. They've tried to weigh the soul. However, this is only what I read. I don't think. I think scientifically, they've never been able to fully recreate that every time. So if one body may lose 3 grams unexpectedly, but not everybody would lose that. So
okay.
it is, yeah. There has been, I believe, I read years ago about experiments with the while looking at consciousness itself. You know, we still, one of the greatest mysteries that we've got today, you know, is, are we alone? Which we're looking like very, very, very close to some sort of revelation that we're not. And you know, what happens to us when we die? Consciousness.
Yeah.
What is consciousness? Yeah. Why? What is consciousness? I find that fascinating. But the way in the soul, I don't think it's ever been debunked. I think they've tried it and tried it and tried it, and I think the results were possibly inconclusive. Again, please correct me if I'm wrong. I'll be glad for people to correct me. I can always learn from that.
Yeah. I agree. Anyone that wants to comment, just leave a comment at the bottom and ask any questions. That'd be great. Okay, Chris, can we have a word about your next Dogman thing?
So I was after we finished the travelling, my wife and I settled down in Leighton Buzzard, and we then went over to the Isle of Man. We didn't have I see a few orbs in between then, and then we moved back to the UK in 2016. Now I went to work on a farm. I'll call it a farm. Again, I'll happily speak to you off air about certain things.
Okay.
So I went to work on a farm, and I was handling sheep at the time, and I got a blackthorn stuck in my middle finger. It was like a small rusty nail, this thing. It was a big, thick, nasty blackthorn. And what it had done, it got into the side of my middle finger, and unbeknownst to me, it pierced the tendon and gone right into the joint, into the joint of my finger. So, of course, I'm working on this farm, handling the sheep. I felt a sharp scratch on my finger. I remember looking at it thinking, oh, God, that is going to be sore in the morning, you know. And I pulled the thorn out like it was just a splinter. Again, I didn't realise the extent of the damage. And so by the next morning, I had blood poisoning. My whole hand was like a brick, and I had a tracking mark. It'd gone just past my shoulder, and my wife rung 111 at the time. I think this was around about, I'm going to say about 2017 maybe. And I'd had some health problems in 2016, and I spoke to you about a rose that I saw in the sky. I watched the video. That is exactly what I see outside my house. I will talk to you about that another time. So so at the hospital, I had to undergo surgery. I had to go have plastics. They give me what was called a tendon sheath wash for my hand. So they had to they admitted me to intensive care the minute I got to the hospital. They opened my hand up, they washed it all out, and they give me antibiotics, IV. I think it was 3 or 4 days, and I didn't sleep a wink in this hospital. But I wasn't tired. It was coming. It was springtime. It was so the weather wasn't too bad. And I remember sitting outside of Derby Hospital. I was sat outside around about 2 o'clock in the morning. I think it was probably the night before I went home. And I remember sitting there. I was sitting there smoking a cigarette. And again, this was the second sighting. This is the second time I see the dog-like animal. Okay. So this thing, it come almost out of where I was sitting. I've sent you the pictures, Phil, haven't I?
Yep, I'm going to put those up on this video. I'm going to put those up on this.
So I'll describe this. So the pictures show, the picture shows where I was sitting at the entrance of the hospital. Where the camera has taken the picture for this was where I see the dog again. Now it was the same animal. I knew it was the same animal. You know, if you meet a neighbour's dog and you give it a pet, if you blindfolded yourself then, and then if that animal come up to you, quite quickly you would realise who that animal.
Would.
Yep,
yeah,
you
I was.
know.
Yeah.
If you were familiar with that animal, and I felt when I see this dog-like animal again, it was the same one that I'd seen at the Belfry. It was the same one. It was exactly the same one, but this time it was black. It had because it was quite far away this time. It wasn't right next to me. This was possibly about 20 meters, maybe 25 meters away from me, and it walked out, but it like in a half circle. It come out. The sighting lasted about 20 seconds, and again, I was looking at the animal as a whole. I didn't see. Again, the ears pointed up. I didn't see eyes or face. I see the side view of it.
Yeah.
And it done a half circle. Sighting lasted about 20 seconds, and it just if you see it just vanished off the end, out of sight more than anything. It didn't disappear or anything like that. It just
so it just the first one disappeared more, didn't it?
No, this thing I might put my hand straight through it, like.
But this one just went behind somewhere and went away.
If I was in an open space, it was circling me.
Do you remember? I know it's not for very long that you saw this, but do you remember it? Knowing, was there anything you could that struck within you that this thing knows I'm there? It's either it saw you or it kind of because you said that it was the same beast, the same dog.
Yes, it was. The sighting was meant for me, 100%. There wasn't another living soul anywhere near that point at the time. The ambulance bay was empty. There was no. If you know Derby Hospital, where I was staying was in the ICU. It's the side entrance. I can't remember which. There's a number to it. It's opposite the big car park.
I'll put the picture up. I'll put the picture up anyway.
That'd be brilliant, Phil. It's hard to explain.
But
no, that animal it was the same one, and the sight that was that thing was as aware of me as I was of it. Definitely.
I have to ask one of the most obvious questions: was there a collar on it? I know it sounds stupid. I'm not making. You didn't notice any collar.
No.
Okay, I have to ask that because people will ask. That's one of the things they will ask.
No, people. It did not have a collar. Nobody was walking it, and it was not chewing a bone.
Okay, and it was again the same size as the animal that you saw before. Same size,
just around about or just above waist height at the back.
Okay. And you did the feeling you got from it? It wasn't predatory. It wasn't like it was going to.
I'm not scared of these things.
Okay.
Just aware. I'm very, very aware.
Yeah.
They don't scare me. They're not there. I don't think they're there. I don't feel scared by them. But I don't know if that's just me.
Why do you think you're seeing this same dog? Why do you think your heart?
Absolutely no idea. I have no idea. I spoke to my doctor about it years ago. And they just put it. They actually sent me for testing for schizophrenia.
Right.
Which come back completely negative, by the way.
Yeah. So it's obviously, been something that to you. Now I have to say this. Don't take offence, because there'll be people watching this that will go, because there was no witnesses, and it was just because it was you seeing it mostly.
It is what it is, Phil. I've come on here with these stories. I have no evidence of this.
I absolutely got nothing but admiration for you, and I 100% know you're talking the truth. And I know that because I am also a fellow experiencer.
I really appreciate that. I appreciate that so much from a fellow experiencer.
Yeah.
This is why I joined the CE5 groups, because I can talk about it now, Phil. It's actually okay in some circles to really go into depth with this, and which I've never ever felt comfortable with it in the past. And it's very slow progress, extremely slow, but it is progress.
It is progress, and also it's if I hadn't have started talking about it generally in public, I think it would have driven me quite crazy. It's getting it out there, discussing it with people, even though I get occasionally do get a lot of flack for it, and a lot of people say, "Oh no, that's a rubbish pareidolia. There's nothing there."
No.
I get it. I get what they're coming from. I absolutely do get it. And you can't impress upon someone who hasn't witnessed anything.
No, absolutely not. No.
What it actually is, and what we've seen, and what impact it has. It stays with you. It's a hook which hooks you, and you can't get rid of that hook. It just stays with you.
No, you're right. I mean, there's like I said to you earlier on, guys at work. I work with some really, really smart guys. I mean, really, really intelligent guys. There's a couple of people holding PhDs at work. There's biology team at work who I work with. There's a couple on the biology team that I work with personally.
Yeah.
From a biology perspective, they're interested. Is this an animal? If this stuff is real, what is it? Is it an animal? Animal, vegetable, mineral? What is it? We need to know.
Yeah.
How does it work? How does it eat? How does it breathe? How does it breed? They are open to suggestions of, is this an animal? Can we put this into a category of an animal? But some people that you think you might be able to have this conversation with because of their intellect, but it just shut down, Phil. Even now, they cannot cope with this. Maybe they just choose not to. I don't know. But even it just the progress, the awareness of this is slowly coming out, and I'm really, really looking forward to some form of disclosure, because once they start disclosing what the Americans have or haven't got, and if they have or not got this technology that they're talking about, which I think they have, I'm sure they've got it. It will open the door for the highest strangeness aspect of the phenomena.
Yeah,
there is no door. I'm on there talking to you, friendly chat to you. I hope some people get some good out of this. I hope that if you are skeptical, that you're not too mean or rude about it. It's quite hard to come forward with this stuff. We don't talk about this all the time. We certainly don't talk about this every day. It becomes more of an interest and almost a secret way of life. Don't tell everyone that I sit and watch like UAP documentaries from the minute I wake up in the morning. I don't watch normal TV. I watch the news. I watch what's happening in a little bit of politics that I'm interested in, and I watch UAP stuff. But I'm hoping it opens the door to other phenomena, because this is not all one thing. What we're seeing is not all one thing. It cannot all be one thing. I think we've got so much going on here there's so many possibilities of what the phenomena and the UAP, the high strangeness could be, but it's definitely not all the same thing. No way is this all the same thing, you know.
So, Chris, can I ask you, if you were to hazard a guess what this dog was that you saw, what would you put it down to being? Would you put it down to being a portent for something to happen? You know, is it a warning? Is it
so the first sighting I had in the Belfry, the fisheries, no, I'm going to say no to that. I was never scared. I never had any health issues at the time. I never had any family illnesses or deaths. Certainly nothing happened to me myself, other than, I don't know, like banging your elbow or bumping your head on a cupboard or something, you know. It was the first sighting, definitely not. The second sighting was while I was recovering from something that could have definitely killed me. If I'd have left that blood, if I'd have left my hand as it was when I pulled the blackthorn out and it went poison, that would have killed me 100%. That's why I spent 4 days in the ICU, having me. I mean, I've a massive scar on the palm of my hand now, where they opened my whole hand to release and clean the poison out, and to remove the blackthorn tip from the tendon, from behind the tendon in the joint where it was. Massive operation in my hand. And so that sighting was at that time, but it was after the event. This didn't happen before the event. This was after the event. Okay. However, the last sighting, the third sighting that I had, was just I've had 2 quite bad heart attacks. So I had a heart attack in 2016. Now, what was quite interesting, now you're saying we're talking about things prior to quite serious or life-threatening death events, possibly. So I see what I've described to you as like a rose in the sky in 2016.
Chris, can I stop you there just for 1 minute?
Of course, yeah.
I think what I'm going to do, and this probably won't be that popular with the people watching, but with what I'm streaming this on at the moment allows me 2 hours. And we're now just about coming up to about 2 hours now. What I'd like to do is invite Chris back for a part 2, if that's possible.
Absolutely no problem whatsoever.
Yeah.
I'm really, really happy to get this off my chest.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic, because I think we could quite easily fill another 2 hours of it.
I think we could fill another 2 hours quite easily, as it happens.
And it's a pleasure talking to you. And I think, you know, the subject matter is kind of, as you say, it's so ambiguous, and in different forms it comes from, like, you know, from the black dogs to the UFOs to the.
I think we're looking at. I think we're looking at a lot of different things, and in amongst that, we've got something visiting us from another planet. I think we've got something that's actually living here and has been for a long time. I also think there's an interdimensional aspect to this, and possibly a temporal aspect to this. So, even if 2 of them are correct, you've got 2 different things happening here.
Yeah. You know? Yeah. I agree. And I think on that note, Chris, I'm going to say thank you very much for coming on.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome, Phil. And I'll speak to you very soon about doing the next one. It won't be long.
Yes. Yeah, no. We'll do that. We'll do that as quickly as we possibly can. We'll get that up and running because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people watching this who want to hear the rest of your stories. Because the accounts that you've given are just amazing. And I do know for a fact, because I have spoken to you about the UFO you're going to talk about, and it is fascinating. And just to outline it, I did send Chris a link to a friend of mine, Bookster, who she does compilation videos.
I'd highly recommend watching that, guys. There's some really interesting stuff on that.
Yeah, really, really good she is. And but there was a UFO that I spotted after Chris told me about his UFO experience, this particular one, and I couldn't believe it. I was flabbergasted. Absolutely. When I saw it, I thought, my God, that's what Chris was going on about. Yeah, and I sent it to you, didn't I?
That same one. It was, that was
odd. So, Chris, listen, thank you very much. I appreciate all your time you've given up to come on this. And
like I say, it's good to get this off my chest properly, all in one place, in one hit. And I hope people can take something away from this, and please, everybody, look up. Do not look at the floor. If you want to see this stuff, you have to look for it.
And on that, I shall say good night. And this has been the Interdimensional Voyagers podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, then it's Dogman Teepee hunting. And I shall say good night for now. And part 2 coming very shortly. Thank you once again, Chris.